Hi, Matthias. I'm very happy that you took the time to be on this podcast, and I hope that you will share a little bit about your journey and what you do, where you're coming from, and maybe what is ahead of you. But first, I would like to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself, and yeah, I'm handing over to you now.
Yeah. Hi. Thank you for this opportunity. It's amazing. Uh, I am a computer scientist from Brazil, living a new chapter of life in Germany now, but still in the realm of robotics, and living maybe the dream now, uh, and really happy with it, the current states of it. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of time when people, when you're in the office and they say, "How you doing?" I'm always trying to show that I really like what I do. So when someone is asking
Mhm.
me, "So how you doing?" I'm fantastic. So because the life I'm living at the moment is exactly the one I always wanted to be. So I'm happy that you're feeling the
Mhm.
same way. And yeah, I really would like to discover how you got to the situation, to the point where I think this is what I dreamed of. I don't know, 5 year, 10 year, 20 years ago. I mean, you're not that old, but maybe you can share a little bit about the past and how
Yes.
you became who you are today.
Mhm. Uh, I think we can start with just how I chose my bachelor, which is computer science.
Hmm.
I came from my dad is a farmer. My mom was also part of it, and I was supposed to be a veterinarian or agronomist, something like this. But
Mm.
I was really curious about the world and how many machines work, more into the computer part of it. And then I took the computer science, and I had the opportunity to work with the Lego Mindstorms kits. You know, these kits that you can build different types of robots.
Oh yeah.
And was part of a research project back then in the bachelor. And with the two other colleagues, we were working with autonomous robots. That was around 2013, uh, and it was still like not much hot topic. It would be become a hot topic a few days later, autonomous cars, but was still like something. When you talk about future, autonomous cars was maybe the first word or keyword that would come out to people's mind. So we were playing with it basically because bachelor, we didn't have much more than just the Lego kit, and then we're still doing some really fantastic work with it. And back in Brazil, doing the bachelor, I didn't have much opportunities where I was, and I was really aiming to have like a better future somehow. And the best opportunity that I had back then was to apply for masters, and then I decided to do it. You know, in last year of bachelor, I decided to do the masters and I applied for some universities, and luckily, or I was happy to get accepted in maybe the best university for computer science in Brazil. Uh, and there I went for the real robotics. At that university, I was working with the what is maybe nowadays kind of standard, but back then was quite new for me at least. SLAM, navigation, path planning, exploration, and all of that. So that was way more than Lego kits, and I was really working with real lidar and real sonar, and embedded algorithms as well. It was really nice. During my master's, I did a research on UAVs, so localization of drones, basically. So the idea was to set the drone's camera facing downwards and try to find the drone's images in satellite images. And it was quite challenging because sometimes the satellite images are really outdated
Mm.
and the environment changes a lot. So I was really proud about that. That work it was really amazing, and robotics just got me. And also the academia world was really. I think I was always kind of in general happy doing robotics, and I decided to continue to pursue the PhD as well and continue in the same lab. So just 1 week break. I started my after finishing the masters. I started the PhD, and that was, so master's was from 2015 to 16, and 2017 I started the PhD. In 2016, people were talking about semantic information. So the robotics community seems to be like, yeah, okay, guys, it's enough to to just distinguish the environment as free, occupied, or unknown. We must do something more than just that. We are able to, the computer vision was able to recognize some items or some objects in the environment, and now it's time to do something about it. And then I was reading all these new articles and the researchers talking about it, and then I had the same desire, same interested in yeah, doing something more than just localizing robots. It seemed to me that, yeah, okay, back then we had Orb Slam and LSD Slam as well, really new. And then it was like, okay, we can map the environment, we can estimate the robot's position. Now it's time to play with the environment and make the robots do some other fancy tasks. And then I decided to go for the PhD more into that. And then I switched the subject, but I kept in the same lab. And my PhD was about object search. So you are in an unknown environment, and then you try to find an item, and the robot has never maybe seen that item, or yeah, it's an unknown environment, and how you it's hard to get the optimal response, but then you try to avoid going for the worst options that you have and trying to figure out what is the most promising region to search for this item, and using semantic information. I was also relying on another assumption that we humans have, which is habits and organization. So you go to the supermarket, you don't need to search in the whole supermarket to find a certain item. We organize the environment and the world in a certain way that it's efficient for us when we're searching things. And then I did that, really happy. But then it was like, okay, when I was about to finish the PhD, I didn't, even though I really love teaching, I was not much into the becoming a professor thing, which is quite big in Brazil. And I was like, okay, let's move to the industry then. And I moved to the industry after finishing the PhD. That was in 2022. I did 6 months of a postdoc as well. But then I was like, okay, that the industry now, because it's really hard to do robotics in Brazil in terms of resources. I remember we got the first graphic cards because we sent a letter to NVIDIA to participate in a project to support small labs. And that was our first very graphic card to use and to be able to run YOLO because our computers could not handle it. So it was really hard to do it. And maybe going to the industry, I would be more.
Wait. I would like to slip in to make a short break,
Okay.
because you're carried us throughout the education part, and I think there's a big break afterwards, because when you're leaving academia and entering industry.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask this earlier, but I like when people are very passionate about the things that they do, because if you're passionate about things, then you tend to spend more time than the average person on it, right? So you become very good very fast because you spend so much more time and you're so much more interested in different kind of things. And there's a very well-known saying, right? Questions or curiosity are the keys to answer and to knowledge, right? But what I wanted to ask, and now it's a little bit late for that, but maybe we can go back 2 steps. You said that coming out of an environment where your father is a farmer and you are not naturally surrounded by engineers, because a lot of my guests had
Yeah.
a parent or father or brother or uncle, family that are engineers. It's always this being the first mover, so to speak, so the first person in the family that does something like that, right? How is that for you
Yeah.
to really say, I'm not following this path, I'm really going my own curiosity? So I would really like to understand Was it easy for you because your curiosity was so high, or how was it? Maybe you can tell me a little bit about this.
Uh, yeah, that's actually a really good question. Uh, I have received a lot of support from my parents, so that was really nice. And there was no the pressure of continue the family business, so that was really all right. And indeed, I did not have the knowledge or something similar that I could get from my dad or my mom. But what I got is a farmer is I usually I say as a joke that if there is a zombie attack, I would look for farmers and be surrounded by them, because farmers are really they know they know a lot. They have multiple skills. They know carpentry. They know mechanical. They also have mechanical skills. They do a lot of things, and I feel that robotics is kind of the same, because you must know a little bit about computer vision, lidars, and then different algorithms, and then you must know the IP and protocols, and so I would say also that roboticists are kind of farmers from computer science or IT. And I did not receive much support technical wise, but from other parts, yes, all of it, uh, and was most of the time was myself going like, yeah, okay, I need this. Some people from my friends were like, yeah, you're maybe too crazy doing that, and mainly leaving parents' house too early to pursue the dream and go for the computer science and later on go for the masters. Brazil is quite big,
Mm.
and from bachelor to masters, I moved from the center of Brazil to the south, which is more than 2,000 kilometers apart. So it's a really big move, but that was my decision, and my parents really respected and supported me a lot.
1,000 kilometers. So this is just within the country, right? So I'm coming from Berlin,
Yes.
and 2,000 kilometers means I can go to Spain. Can almost go to Madrid,
Uh,
right, or to Italy, and so 2,000 kilometers is a very far away. And so when you entered a new world for you, most people, you said
mhm,
there was not so much support technical wise, and you said there was a lot of support from the family. But how did you manage to find your way in a totally new environment that is so different from the world that you're used to? And you said you did this very early on to pursue the dream.
mhm.
And maybe
Yeah.
some people are listening. I have a lot of people that are listening from India or in Asia, some Americans as well. So maybe you can tell us a bit about what gave you I mean, we do know that support from the family is very crucial, but how did you
Yeah.
manage to find your way in a totally different environment and
Mhm,
not being overwhelmed by it? Maybe you can give us a few tips.
mhm. Uh, I managed to uh, generalize the best part of my parents and take it as an example and as inspiration for myself. Uh, they went through many problems, and the tasks my parents carried out in the farm were really tough, and every day there was a new challenge to face, and they were never giving up, and they were always working hard. Uh, uh, and my dad was also always happy, and I think I got this from him too. Always happy and never complaining much. And of course, like life will be hard, and life will hit you hard. Uh, but if you have focus and you have discipline as well, uh, you learn and you go for it. My dad was learning everything by himself. He has just the fifth grade. He had to quit school to help my grandpa. So he also learned a lot throughout his life, and even like really being really old, he was still learning. And my mom did his bachelor at the same time with me. So when she was 50, so there's no you can always learn, and there will be always challenge. Everyone has challenge, and no one has was born knowing absolutely everything. So as long as you're open to learn and you're doing your best, and you are aware that problems will always come, I think it's, that's what I learned, is generalizing their life, and I could apply into mine.
Yeah, I think what you said, you mentioned a few key characteristics of successful people, and I think it was the first one that you mentioned was perseverance. So
Mm-hmm.
really having the grit and sticking with things even though they become very challenging. And the other thing that you said was discipline, having discipline and focus. I think the combination of perseverance, focus, and the ability to be disciplined and doing the things that need to be done. These are the very well-known characteristics of founders, right? I do have a lot of founders here on my podcast, and we
Mm-hmm.
will see. Maybe we'll talk in a few years, and I will have CEO and founder Mathias Mantelli in front of me. So this seems to be like a very good start. But I was interrupting you. You were just telling me about leaving academia behind you. Thanks for going back
Yeah,
into time. That was
no
really
problem.
something that is interesting me. And you were about to leave academia after your PhD and entering the industry, which is not something that is very easy as well, right? Because it's different
Yes,
worlds,
indeed.
different requirements. And yeah, maybe you can tell us a bit how this went.
Yes, that's indeed a, a really huge gap, I would say. And personally, I, the gap was smoother, luckily for me, because when I was about to finish the PhD, and while throughout my postdoc, I did a part-time job for a startup in Brazil, one of the few startup in robotics in Brazil, and the company is called Instore. And back then it was during a pandemic, and Brazil was facing a really tough situation, and we had the opportunity to collaborate. So the research lab and the company collaborate together to design and manufacture and program and do everything, a sanitizer robot for the pandemic. Uh, and then, so while I was doing the PhD and finishing up the PhD, I was learning a little bit about the industry, and there are so many other concerns that we pretend to not exist when we're doing the PhD and doing research, because I feel that the research is, you're trying to prove your hypothesis or prove some ideas, and you just ignore the other part. So if you say that your algorithm is the fastest, you are not concerned about how memory it's going to use, or how long it takes to initialize, other parts of it. But then when you're building a product, then you must take everything in consideration. And additionally, I see robotics as a combination of electrical, mechanical, and software engineers, and communication is a key there. And research, sometimes you do it by yourself or just one or two other colleagues, or researchers, whereas in the industry, you're working with other 15, 20, and depending on the company, even thousands of colleagues, and you must communicate them everything that is happening. So yeah, it was really a steep curve to learn, but luckily it was like a little bit smoother by having that collaboration. And then when I got like the full-time job, I was already used to it, and I knew at least the basics. And of course there was still a lot to learn, but it was it's easier, I would say.
When you think about the academia world where you spent the majority of your adult life in it, right? And now being in the
Mm-hmm.
industry, now even moved to Germany, in industrialized country, and I do know that you are living in Stuttgart or near Stuttgart. So
Yes.
there's a few automotive companies right next to it. So there's a lot of industry around it, right? So the majority of research that is happening in the schools, universities, institutes, they're very close connected to the industry, right? So a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
research that is happening is being driven by the industry. So now that you enter the industry, I think I said the word now 5 times in a row. It's what surprised you the most when you're coming out of deep tech academia and now seeing reality? What is
Yeah.
something that is unexpected for you or that was surprising for you?
it surprised me how, no, I think delayed is not the proper word, or maybe I can say that I was surprised by the low number of robots they have right now. I thought it would be way more. So I think they're still struggling a lot to trust on robotics and on robots, because for academia, you can maybe for mobile robots or AMRs, you can kind of assume that mapping is done, it's solved. Just a few researchers are still proposing new methods for that one. And still, people are concerned about AMRs on their facilities. And it's the same for robotic arms or manipulators. Now that I switched to this field of robotics, I thought there would be, hundreds and hundreds or way more than actually is now. And they're quite of resistance in the inertia to convince them that the robot will be a good benefit. Of course, not for every case, but for most of the cases with these tedious and repetitive tasks, it's really a time-consuming job. And I thought it would be easier, So that surprised me a little bit, mainly because I feel that AI is everywhere, and people, mainly even the ones that are not into the field and working with it, they know what it can do and what is possible to do with it, and still people are concerned. I'm not sure if it's because of the possibility to failure and stop the production line for a few hours, which is really bad for automotive, and that's their main concern. But there are many steps to convince them, and that was a really big surprise for me.
So you're talking about change management, actually, right? So that a difference in culture, because for you in academia, all these things are available and you're working on them. And then you have people who should actually benefit and using them, but they are trying to be risk adversive. And because you said something, as people know about AI and know what can do. So I think this is not entirely true, because I think when you're talking to people in the industry, the AI topic is there, but maybe some engineers have an idea what AI is possible, but a lot of startups now using AI because it's such a hot topic, right? But then how much AI is really in the startup, how much AI is really in the product? And I think here there is still a mismatch between what people expect. Like, this is a black box. I don't know exactly how it works, but it can solve all my problems. And I think here, academia or engineers or the startup themselves still need to do a lot of work with the people responsible on the shop floor level to explain this is possible, this is not possible, and really showing the benefits. And I think regarding you said the numbers of robots was really surprising you. So surprised that there wouldn't be more robots in it. I mean, there's always the cost factor, right? And you said
Yes.
to stop a line is very expensive and risky. So this is the other thing. And something that came up to my mind was there's different requirements. So if you have a product, you're coming out of academia, and even if your product works perfectly, that it's not solution driven, it's technical driven. So you have the problem with a lot of deep tech founders that you have a product, you were working on the product, and the product works pretty well, but it's not the product that drives the process, it's the problem that drives the process, right? So I have a plant, I overlook a shop floor, I have a problem, and now I need a solution for my problem, versus you are working on a solution and now you need to find a problem that is matching your solution, right? And I think this is something that a lot of strugglers, a lot of founders are still struggling with, that there is a mismatch between what is technically possible, but how it is apply and deploy and implement, is being able to be implemented. So I think this is something.
Yes. No, I totally agree with that. My point with my observation is, I feel that methods for some tasks have been proposed by the research 10, 15 years ago. And they have become more robust nowadays, because one thing is proposing and saying, hey, this is the paper, it's possible to do it. And another thing is having that thing running 24/7 with no breaks. That it's a gap, and I recognize that one. I know that it exists. But back in Brazil, when we were trying to sell our AMR and our robot, because the labor is so cheap, it was really hard. But then here in Europe, I feel that it's the opposite a little bit, and there are more complaints about, even though companies are willing to pay the salary, there's no much interest by people to, because in education, and they're not fulfilled anymore in doing some certain tasks. And that is happening not just last month, but a few years ago. And so if we have methods and the knowledge that has been proposed like a long time ago, the hardware has improved as well, and more industries are have been built and start operating, why they're not considering robotics since they start. So that was more like the point. Of course, that there, as you very well pointed, it's not just because there are tasks doesn't mean that you can put a robot there and then it will be way better. So there are a lot of topics to, a lot of things to consider. But just because of labor shortage and for how long robotics is there, I was yeah, that's why I was surprised. Mainly for manipulators and AMRs, which are really maybe the oldest or the most well-known robots that exist for the industry. And now everyone is talking about humanoids. And if you see Digit is working the logistics, but the other humanoids are focusing on automotive industry. And now it seems that, yeah, why we haven't deployed robots before? So now it's coming now they're asking the question that I asked myself before.
The requirements in automotives are very high, right? You were just saying that
Yeah.
stopping a production line at a big automotive that costs thousands of euros, and so there's a reason why
Mhm.
every single solution must have a redundant um, system in place. Otherwise, it will not be
Yes.
deployed, because you
Mhm.
do need to deliver 99.9999%, right? So everything below that it's just we don't take it. And you
Mhm.
have a lot of machines that are doing a pretty good job already, right? So, and automation is going on for quite a while now. So the majority of big companies, there is a lot of the tasks that are happening are automated already. If you're going into a car factory, the majority of things are automated. But then you push this further, you push this further, but then there comes a point where the technology is not able to close the gap anymore, right? And this is right now the
Mhm.
time where a lot of startups are jumping into the place and say, now
Yep.
we're trying to close the gap even further, because now we have technology that was not
Yes.
available 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So now we are
Yeah.
closing this gap. But now is the thing that some things that have been solved in academia, but now we are clashing the two worlds where do we have requirements here? There's safety requirements, right? There's requirements in terms of
Mhm.
it needs to be feasible, it needs to be very reliable, right? I need to be able to put this
Mhm.
in three lines, three shifts, 24/7, right? For a very long period of time. It needs to run for 5 years without any problem. And maintenance, this is all the things that a startup is struggling with. Not the technology necessarily. There's always some
Yep.
problems with the technology, but all the service and support, maintenance that comes with it, right? And
Yes.
yeah, I think a startup that is focusing on these things have advantage towards other products that might be even a little bit better, right? So this is
Yes. Yeah. You. That's very well said. Andrew Nash on his Twitter mentioned something about that. How companies are being really, they new robotics companies, they are born to focus on really specific tasks for market instead of being generic. And also about the software that has been improved. I wrote a Medium article about it. How, like, how robots have become more like intelligent or smarter. Because if you consider, as I mentioned, back 10 or 12 years ago, we were talking about, yeah, we can map the environment and we know where the obstacles are, but we don't know what they are. And then we could understand, the color and maybe recognize some characters and some words in the environment. Yeah, that was already impressive. But then, like 3 years later, we were able to not just understand the items or the objects in the world, but also name them, the class. This is a mug, this is a cell phone, and so on. And again, 1 year later, we are able to understand everything about it and ask ourselves, or the robot ask itself, which item is weightier than other, what you can do with the mug, and so on and so on. And if you ask it to, hey, I want to drink some water, can you help me? And then you go there and it leaves you a glass. So it's really impressive how software has improved. And every week that I open Twitter or X, as you prefer, there is something really new that has never, like, how are they doing that? And again, Aldronash has shared another interesting tweet about how robotics has become person proposed. Let's say a lot of people are doing some methods at their place and maybe training a little bit in their machine, taking a longer time to train, but also doing that or in research labs, and they're doing really impressive things, which was not maybe possible in the past. So yeah, it's really crazy how software has improved.
And sorry, you were mentioning an account that was posting something. What was the name of it?
Outro Nash, Andrew Nash,
And
something like this.
Andrew
And
Nash.
yes,
Oh, Audrey. So mean the other the
Outro.
podcast guy? Oh yeah.
Yes, 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 yes.
Oh, Audrey. Yeah, yeah. I really like his podcast, right? So I before I started
Mm-hmm.
this podcast last year, we had a talk, and because he was doing podcasts for 10 years, right? So there's um
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of things to learn from him. You're
Yeah,
absolutely right. Just the other day, I had a talk with someone who was saying they don't like. I mean, I think I use the word Twitter, and they use it too. So I said, yeah, I don't like Twitter anymore. I said, depends on your bubble. So because I have a few different
yeah.
accounts, and so but my main
Mm-hmm.
account is filled with my bubble, and I really enjoy the energy. I really like to see the content, and there's a lot of open source projects that are happening at the moment. And as you said, there is not
Mm-hmm.
1 week going by without me seeing some new developments, new papers, interesting directions where research is going. And yeah, I think it really depends on how you spend your time and with whom you spend your time. Another
Exactly.
question that I have now that you have been in academia the majority of your time in Brazil, now coming to Europe, do you see? I have a friend of mine, and she works in manufacturing in Mexico. So every now and then we talk about. We were former colleagues from Siemens, and we talk about differences in culture, right? And there's always some things that you can adopt into your own work of way. This goes both ways, right? So maybe there's a few things that you think
Mm-hmm.
um, German people could take from you, and then maybe you can mention a few things where you think, this is something that I really like here, and maybe you come up with something, and but yeah, no pressure.
Well, that's a tough one. Uh, what I feel that the Brazilians that are willing to leave the country and work abroad, they're really hard workers, and they really work hard, and they also there's this joke, at least in the academia world, that Brazilians, they are always finding a way to keep the job, as because, as I said, in Brazil, to do research, we don't have much resources, and we're always working around to make the thing work. And so we're really handy, and then we're mix stuff together to get to the same outcome. And I feel that this is really something that we do. And what Brazilians could take from Germans, that your second half of the question, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
So just to summarize, you're saying that um, because when I was asking, so what can Germans take from Brazil, would you say that or let we, because I'm a German person, we should try to make more out of the things that we have?
Or don't, just because you don't have the proper tool to make something, don't keep waiting to get a new tool. Try to, MacGyver way, or yeah, maybe the MacGyver way is a good way of explaining it. So you don't maybe have right now the proper tool to do something. Of course, that I'm not saying here to, put yourself in dangers or something like this. But
Trying
find
to
another
be
solution
creative,
for the same
maybe?
problem. Yes, something like that. Yeah, that maybe that's the best way of doing it, because my way was too confusing. And be creative is a good way of doing it.
Siemens changed their, I think they hadn't had one, and then they came up with one because it became very trendy to have a tagline for your company, right? So I think they started and they used the word. It's very hard to translate it, but they came up with the English word ingenuity. So that means every single person is part of the company. Act like you are the owner. And that means, as you said, trying to come up with solutions versus trying to get the solution being handed to you. So that means somehow being clever enough about the things. Oh, I'm playing now with my camera again. Hope I can. No, I cannot. So I think you're totally right in, if we're waiting for the perfect environment, we will lose a lot of time and money, right?
Yeah.
Starting with the things that we have. But yeah, maybe
Yes.
giving back to the second part of the question.
Thanks for the help. And for the second part, I would say be Brazilians from Germans a little bit more methodic in terms of how to do the tasks, and maybe it's still too new to me here in Germany. So and I'm still willing to get to know more Germans, but maybe do maybe do the tasks more in a methodic way, with all the steps and following it. And I feel that sometimes we bypass some securities measures, and we neglect it a little bit. So maybe we could do that more often.
So a mixture between trying to follow some processes and trying to follow some guidelines, or I think processes is the best way to describe it. But if there comes an obstacle, don't stop just because the process says stop. Maybe now combining it with a Brazilian mindset of, okay, I know the process here stops and we can go any further, but there is solutions. We can find them if we're looking for them. And actually, when you're saying this, I really like the approach. And what I use very often in this podcast is my former colleague, Robert. He's an engineer, and he was sitting right next to me, and we were having discussions about certain situations and how to handle them. And then he said, for example, in a situation, he said, yeah, but the system, this is the only way the system allows you to act, right? And then I said, but then the system sucks, because obviously there's a situation, and if it's appearing a few times, then there must be a new system, because this system is not really working in this environment. So there must be a way to go around the obstacle, because just saying the system is not offering a solution for that is actually not so pragmatic and solution oriented. So
totally agree. I feel that Latinos in general, so South America and other countries as well, we are quite spontaneous. So we are always coming up with new events for tomorrow, and also expressing ourselves. And I think this one makes us be really creative, because we're really spontaneous. So we see something, and then there's a lot of ideas coming up to your mind. But being also spontaneous sometimes we don't follow process because we're too spontaneous, and then we're just following the flow, and maybe find the perfect balance, so get ideas and process as well. So balancing it is really maybe the key here.
This is definitely right, because I mean, I think it was a video that I saw, a video with somebody said that in Germany, innovation is very hard to do because over a very long period of time, decades now, you trained people and engineers to get rid of all the risk, right? So when you're building a bridge, or when you're building a car, when you're building a plane, you would like to be, so it should be very reliable, right? The bridge should not collapse. The plane should not crash. The car should not crash. So you're training the people looking for the defects, looking for the problems, looking for the risks that could happen, and finding ways to avoid it. So I think this trained mindset, almost becoming a culture, is hindering you, is blocking you from innovation, because the first thing that comes into your mind, as you had been trained, is where's the risk? How can I avoid the risk, right? And so I think this is maybe I'm saying this now too polemic or too provocative, but maybe the lack of professionalism, because during the different times, right? Industrialization in Europe happened in the 19th century, right? So there is a time delay when it comes to engineering in Brazil. So it might be you guys just hadn't been trained enough on looking at the risk. So you are still looking naturally, how can I find a solution for that? And I think combining, I mean, this is just a hypothesis, but I think that could be
makes sense
reasons.
actually. Yeah, but of course that there are Brazilians that look like more Germans, and the other way around as well. Well, people are quite, but we're talking here about in general. And yeah, I kind of agree with you, and yeah, could
like
be
I
like
said,
that.
this is provocative because it gives a generalized idea about things, and I didn't want
Yeah,
to. Yeah.
but
We're looking into the future. Maybe you can share a little bit about what you're doing at the moment, right? You were talking about the past, but
yes.
I'm always interested in what are you working on, what you are interested in, and maybe what will happen in a few years.
Yeah, right now I'm working with a warehouse automation for Direct. And at Direct, we have the main product, let's say, is bean picking application. So robotic arm with the gripper and picking items from A to B. And that seems quite a boring and many years old task. But we are solving it with AI, and that's not just to make it more expensive, but we do use AI to understand. And this is, some products put based on AI or AI on the name just to make it more like make it hotter, and no, I'll go for this one because it has AI on the name, because it allows us to understand the items and also generalize how to pick them, because it can give you an item that you have never seen before, and you'll be able to pick it from A to B. And of course, we have fingers, and that makes it really easy. But we understand how to pick them regardless the manipulator, right? In our case, and we use AI over there to pick items, and we managed to pick items that we have never seen before. And that's really interesting and really efficient. And I decided to join Direct because a new challenge in terms of the robot. I have never worked with the robotic arms, and even though I knew the basics of it, it was really nice to go for it in the industry and not just in the research. And also the AI part, because they do train their or our own module. So it is really in-house. It's not like under the hood. It's not an API caller for someone else's module. It's our own, and that's really just a place to learn, which is really what motivates me a lot. And at Seabreak, there are a lot of exciting new projects. Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to share what they are, but they're really, really cutting edge technology. And for now, my plan is to continue learning and helping there on these new projects. And yeah, I'm really it's easy to satisfy me in terms of robotics as long as I'm working with it and doing robotics. It's fine. So I'm not sure where I'll be in the future, but for sure we'll be working with robots somehow. I have other plans as well, but that's it for like really a long term in the future. So for now, it's more like using the energy to work with the robots.
Yeah, thanks for sharing and giving some insights. I really admire people that have a goal and that do everything in their power to reach the goal. And you said
Mhm.
becoming an engineer, becoming someone who's working with robots, and now being surrounded by a lot of companies, a lot of competition, and the industry that allows you to
Mhm.
being in the moment, being in the topics and the hot topics, and really pushing these kind of developments further, right? I
Yeah.
mentioned earlier that some of your characteristics are meant are crucial for being a founder, and you said that all the other ideas or plans that you have, you're putting much in the future. So I'm not digging into that let's say topic. But yeah, I would be
Mhm.
curious to see how things will develop for you. And you said
Yeah.
that your main goal, and I think this is the best answer you can actually give, right? And especially for your company that you're working for, being curious and that you would like to learn more, right? So this is
Yeah.
definitely a good goal to have, trying to learn more, trying to learn new things, and finding a way to apply them to the problems that you have.
Yeah. Maybe I'll take these last minutes to just to wrap up or to mention something here that I say quite often. Uh, it's life is not a race, so it's okay to no one will have the same problems as you had at the age that you had. So don't compare yourself to. It's easier to say than to do, but don't compare yourself to other people. Just because someone has achieved something at a certain age doesn't mean that that person is better or worse than you. And that also for goal. I knew that I wanted to do the masters when I was doing my bachelor, and the same for the PhD while I was doing my masters. And I knew that at some point I would move to Europe. I just didn't know when, and I was just working every day for it. So I was, and that's something that I didn't have a concrete plan and deadline. I was just working to make it happen every day. So I was learning something new after the work, and I was writing Medium articles, and I was talking to other roboticists. So I knew that everything that I was doing would somehow take me to my next goal. So you can do a lot of things that are not directly connected to your goal, but they will help somehow. And it's okay if you don't have, if you don't know what to do right now, because as I said, each life is unique, and don't punish yourself to if you don't know exactly what to do or where you're going to, what is your goal, because uh, life is not a race, and it's okay if you're taking longer to do something, and as long as you do your best, uh, you're fine. Because if you didn't achieve something and you did your best, there was nothing else that you could do, right? And yeah, so your best, if you achieve your best, was exactly what was necessary. Otherwise, you just get better, and your best will be better. Let's say.
I I admire this kind of mindset when it comes naturally to you. So for me, this is something I'm working on very hard to get into this kind of mindset, to not compare yourself to others and only compare myself to the Ilya I was 10 years ago. And
Yes.
now I am where I wanted to be. So and not comparing myself where could have been, right? And so I really like that you took the time for and within the last few minutes and emphasizing and being a role model here for other people that are behind in their journey, right? Or let's say earlier in their journey than you are. And earlier doesn't mean age, but earlier means earlier in the state of mind where you are, right? There's still things to do. There's still the possibility, and yeah, I don't need to add too much to it because I think you said it just perfectly. And I'm very happy that you took the time today and that we were able to talk a little bit about you, because I'm always interested in the people behind robotics, and I think you gave us a great insight in the person behind robotics.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It was really nice. A known guy from Brazil. So it was really my pleasure being here and talking to you and getting to know another roboticist. So thanks so much.
I mean, just to clarify, because I don't want to have any hate in my comments. So I studied mechanical engineering, but I work in the commercial business, right? So I'm in the growth department. We just had a 2-day awesome workshop where we trying to align. There's marketing, there's sales, there's customer success and support, and there is people and culture. So this is where I am. I'm trying to grow the company, so I'm on the business side. I now live very near to Stuttgart, so it would be very nice if we can make a meeting happen, just
Yeah.
for a beer. I've been to Stuttgart on Monday, so let's see if we can manage and trying to figure out something. Thank you much.
Let's do it.
Thank you, Matthias, and talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.